And I know my constituents worry a lot about putting roofs over the people who are sleeping homeless on the streets. They worry about keeping the roofs over their own heads, and that's their priorities. But I know the government thinks this is the top priority. I want to share how I made my mind up on this budget. I needed to feel confident that this budget would do what was needed to help our people through these tough times. I turned to the history of the BC Liberal government's ability to do what they said they were going to do, and have found, like many British Columbians, that like many British Columbians believe, this government cannot be trusted. And we've seen that, whether it's the highest child poverty rate for 5 years in a row, a 373% increase in homelessness, reducing the minimum wage to $6 for first-time workers, and then maintaining the minimum wage for 8 years, keeping people in poverty. So, in tough economic times, when more people are feeling threatened, we saw what they did to deal with the poverty that existed in good economic times. And that's not a good record of caring for people. That's not a good record for watching our backs and my constituents' backs. And that's a record of disappointment. That's a record of massively increasing inequality between those who have a lot and the rest of us. This is the record of a government who is trying to convince us once again that they care about the average British Columbian, will watch out for the average British Columbian if they lose their job. Well, we've seen what happens when people have lost their jobs. We've seen what happens when people are homeless. And we've seen what happens when people are stuck on a minimum wage so they can't even afford to get a home because the minimum wage has been so low for so long. And I think that is a disappointing record, and one that does not give me or my constituents a lot of trust in what this government does. I don't believe this budget can be trusted to tell the truth about what's actually going to happen or what's actually going to be happening to British Columbians should this government get re-elected. In my constituency, we've seen many British Columbians thrown out of their rental apartments, again because the government put their priorities of their corporate friends before the needs of a balanced tenant-landlord relationship. So again, they closed residential tenancy offices across this province, again making it more difficult for people to have access to justice. I looked at what the Finance Minister said in this government's actions, and based on this history, I'm very concerned that after this election, this government will bring in a new budget, as this one will likely go unpassed, and they will unleash a campaign of massive cuts to the public services that we all rely on. And we all remember those massive cuts they gave before. And we've heard about more and more cuts coming, like the 50% cut heading towards arts and culture, should this government continue to get its way. This is what they did in 2001. This is what they did in 2005. This government cannot be trusted.